Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 3 of Developers Playing Their Own Game. We're playing through The Pedestrian, giving our commentary on some behind-the-scenes kind of info and stories of development. So we are on part 3, which is in the downtown.
Oh yeah, here we go.
So we just came from the subway,
Uh-huh.
which was kind of the first bit more explory area with like a hub, and it was more kind of spread out. And then this one is kind of really expounds on that idea of giving you more space and opens things up.
Yeah, and this is like the first moment where it's like very eventful. You get in the train, the music builds up, and it opens up to this big downtown city area, and it's very exciting feeling. So we wanted to have that cool feeling of like a little person in a big world, kind of like I took a lot of inspiration for kind of like the perspective from the old Fievel movies. You know, I loved like those background paintings that they did for those animated films. Where they had like, the camera was down on those cobblestone roads looking up at like just a street, and it looked so big and everything. And I wanted that same feeling of being small in a big world.
What is it called? The Disney dog movie too.
Disney dog movie.
Yeah. the one where they're like in the city and there's like
oh yeah. Actually, there were some reference photos.
I can't remember.
Oliver and Company.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one, actually.
I'm going.
I thought you meant like Homeward Bound or something.
That's what I was thinking too. I don't remember that.
Oh my word, here we go.
Oh yeah.
So this whole initial part, I would say, is probably my favorite of all the areas. Like this where you go down here and then you're on the curb and you go down the sewer. Thankfully, it's actually a sign. We were going to have
I was fighting to have it actual paint on the curb, like when it says no parking or something painted on the curb, but it just wasn't looking right because of the shaders we have to work with. It just looked kind of janky, so we kind of went for more of like a dirty sign that's just falling on the curb.
I kind of feel like this is better anyway because it kind of like mingles. You can like mingle it within like the rubbish.
Yeah, it makes it look cool. And we weren't even going to do this whole transition. We were literally going to go straight from the train into the hub for the downtown. But we wanted to have this cool like establishing sequence of seeing a little bit of your environment, getting to explore, and going down into the sewer here.
Yeah, because the sewer, kind of like to go off your point there, the sewer wasn't even here.
Yeah.
Like for a long time. And this was just something where it's like we needed extra. Well, I don't even know if we needed the tutorials at that point. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go.
Yeah, we made the sewer initially because
it was cool.
A lot of the decisions we make in design have to do with pacing, not only for gameplay purposes, but for the experience. We want the pacing to feel really good, just like a good movie, So having you just like go down into the sewer, and then you get this moment, which you'll see in a few minutes, you get this moment of like the realization that you're in downtown. It's so much more impactful if you come from the sewer up out of a manhole. So
yeah. And so this is the introduction of a new mechanic for this area. The interesting thing about this mechanic is this is a mechanic we didn't have for a very long time. And this, I think we put this in probably the year before we released, probably like in the fall. Was it like summer or fall? No, wait, it may have been a little earlier than that. But anyway, we got to this mechanic by playtesting, where we did a lot of playtesting at like public libraries, where we would just have like local friends and stuff play the game, and we would go to one of their rooms that they have in the library. We'd set up our computers, and we just have them play through the entire thing in one sitting. and then we'd take notes and everything.
Yeah, and it wasn't even something where the playtesters were like, oh man, it'd be cool if this was a mechanic. It was more like we saw that it felt like there was something missing.
Yeah.
And we wanted to have something to go off of the whole pacing thing again. We needed something to kind of fill a gap where the gameplay was getting a little stale. And we wanted to have some mechanics that set us apart from other puzzle games. And this was definitely something where, we were brainstorming for a while, and the whole idea, like the creation of this mechanic dropping through the doors was the idea that we wanted to kind of do this 3-dimensional path, because it's like, okay, we're creating paths connecting doors and ladders together. That's on the X and Y axis. But what if we could use the Z axis depth as a way to travel? So that was kind of the idea, and we just kept working off of that. There was all kinds of different ways that we were going to do it, by using like perspective, and they were like actually far away from each other, and you had to line it up just right to drop through. But this became the easiest and most intuitive way of doing the depth doors.
I think also the other thing that when we were initially thinking of the mechanic, I remember thinking about this, where we were trying to come up with something like a mechanic that is only usable within our game. Something that, like this whole depth thing, it's not like a standard mechanic. It's not like a key and door and jump pad and various things like that. It's something that can really only be utilized in our game because our game is in a specific kind of form.
Yeah, that does kind of go along with what we talked about in the past, where like sort of the in-sign stuff is relatively simple. It's your lever, it's your jump pads, all that kind of stuff. But all the unique, more kind of difficult puzzle aspects come from the uniqueness of the signs themselves, like placing them on top of each other. There's a little pig. He's perfectly placed. Placing signs on top of each other, which then means that they have to actually be physically on top of each other, so you can like block things with real world stuff like pipes, and so that adds in kind of real world elements to block signs and stuff. And so these more advanced just build on the simplicity of the signs themselves, which also kind of goes into the visual simplicity of signs. So yeah.
Okay. I'm doing it. We're going up. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jazzy music comes in.
Yeah. Works really well.
Okay.
She's still a Spartan.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, and we'll show you guys all the secrets as well. So as you saw down in the sewer, there was a locked door, and we can get to that locked door after we solve a couple of puzzles. And so here's where you see, okay, the Game Boy is in. Oh yeah. It keeps showing up. So there's these slots that have to be filled. And to go back to our previous episode where we were talking about giving the player a sense of progression, now they recognize the Game Boy as something that needs to be filled.
If you do something once, it's like new. Once you do it 3 times, it's like cemented in your memory as being something that's like,
fool me once,
whatever that is.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that there's literally empty holes there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go this way. Oh, so beautiful. Oh, so this sign is a kind of a lead-up mechanic to this puzzle. These like little disableable platforms. These are the first time you see this. So this is again like what we did in the subway. This sign introduces that new prop.
which we had to do a lot, and it turned out to be pretty helpful for players to be taught something right before they have to use it.
Yeah, that was kind of the struggle of like difficulty curves, because our game is relatively, pick your own puzzle, at least limited to like 3 or 4 puzzles. All of them have to be relatively kind of similar in difficulty, because you never know which one they're going to go to first. It really was a struggle to figure out like which which puzzles to put where. We switched some puzzles between areas because they were just too hard if they came to it first. So
Yeah, we've had to move puzzles from literally the beginning of the game all the way to the end of the game.
Or like
just because they were too hard, and we didn't know that until we had people play test.
And like this puzzle here, this used to be in the next area. No, it was
in the previous area, and then it went to the next area, and then it came back to this area.
Well, no, because this was 2 areas over, I think. This puzzle.
It was in like 3 or 4 different places.
Yeah.
Oh, chalk sign. So this was one of our other shaders that we came up with for this like coffee shop chalk thing.
Yeah, just another variety to keep things looking interesting.
I think it turned out very well.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's one of my favorites. We didn't use it as much as I would have liked to, but time.
I'm really happy too with the windows. I think the windows turned out really well.
Yeah, dude, I put like little grime and stuff. If you get up real close, you can see the window panes have like dust and dirt in them.
Oh, baby.
I think there's fingerprints on the glass.
It's crazy because we had this bug with this elevator, and we must have had the bug for years, but we didn't even know it was a bug until we released the game on the day. Actually, maybe it was a few days before we released the game when people were playing it from like our Kickstarter backers, because we gave them the game early. A bunch of people were running into the bug with this elevator, and I had no idea why. And it's just that people do different movements because they're not so used to playing the game correctly, that they ran into this bug after years of us playing it. And so then I had to get that fixed really quick for release, but
oh yeah,
it's
like
crazy.
When we're working on the game, there's so many habits we develop to avoid breaking the game. And then when we watch playtesters, like
we're like, what are you doing?
They just go right in there and they do the things we don't want them to do. It's hard. It wasn't until like a couple months before we launched the game that we actually had it like childproof.
Yeah,
I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's swinging.
Yeah, so that's just another way of adding movement. The little whatever backhoe thingy in the back, moving around the cars, the swinging signs. It just adds the train going by. Adds a lot of life to this area in particular. Helicopter.
He just keeps circling the block. He'll be here in like another 15 seconds.
I think Spider-Man is like flying around. He's trying to catch up.
Sure. We were gonna do that.
Oh, were we? We
just mentioned it. We mentioned any possible thing that could ever happen.
Oh, baby. This was a... Oh, go ahead.
Well, yeah, this one used to be like a full-fledged puzzle in the area before this, the subway. Yeah. But it just didn't do a whole lot. And so we ended up making it this little transition kind of.
Yeah, it's pretty much filler, just so that we can have that awesome view.
Shot. Yeah. I don't know what this puzzle was for. Oh,
well, we just needed to have this perspective.
Well, that, and I think that this puzzle may be leading up to the next puzzle. Just smacking.
It definitely introduces it. Those little arrows are around a lot, but you don't necessarily interact with them if you don't take an object into them. Like the way they're pointing, you can go with the arrow, but you can't go against the arrow with an object. And so we use that in the next kind of puzzle over as a little mechanic. And we wanted to make sure that you were actually, somewhat familiar with it.
Yeah. So this is kind of what this new mechanic allows you to do. It allows you to, well, at least in this particular puzzle, this explores an avenue where we broke the puzzle up into 2 different like sections, which, with our other kind of doors, we couldn't have done this. So this really adds a lot to like our existing puzzle language.
Yeah, for sure. And man, when we were brainstorming this whole depth portal door, we had probably 10 different ideas that we were brainstorming for a long time. We wrote them down on the whiteboard, and so many of them had just as much potential as the depth portal doors, but it was just kind of a time thing yet again, where we just had to pick one and just go with it. But that just kind of shows how much we could really expand this whole type of game, because there's so much potential to build off of the foundation that we have here and just keep adding more and more and more things to it. The amount of things that we could have done could go for like 10 more hours.
Yeah. Something kind of interesting that I just remembered. So our sprites for like the image for the character's hat, there's only 2 images. There's a side view image and a front image, and it kind of gives the illusion that it's like 3D.
Yeah.
Even though it's not. We just I think we do actually swap between the images depending on the character's rotation, because the character is 3D, but his hats are not. So we just swap them out at that right moment, so it kind of gives the illusion that it's 3D. But
yeah, because the character literally is 3D, just projected onto the flat surface.
Yeah, it's basically a silhouette of the model.
Yeah.
So this is a sign that we had a lot of people that play the game really enjoy this sign, and I enjoy it too. And we were planning on doing it a different way for a long time.
Yeah, and we had a lot of ideas to make this more interesting too. Like, it would actually flash, it would like turn off and then turn back on, and there would be different states for every time it turned back on. There would be different platforms, and so you'd have to jump from one, and then the other one would turn on. Because this whole thing, really, it's just an aesthetic. It's not a mechanic. And most of the time, we try to incorporate aesthetics with gameplay. But unfortunately,
Yeah, it would just be a lot more work. And this with like the whole slats, I remember this was kind of a last minute thing where we're like, okay, because I was working on a shader specifically for this so that we could have like the individual lights of the sign, and then you would basically be seeing like a pixelated version of the sign, but every single pixel would be around light. And I was working on that, and we just kind of ran out of time, and so we're like, okay, we'll just toss these slats on, and it looks great, and it was super easy. The best kind of design, a lot of times the simplest. And quickest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes for like a lot of creative ideas, is like adding constraints to yourself. Definitely helps you creatively. And this was a time constraint. Like, we just couldn't do what we thought we wanted to do, and so we just had to make something work, and worked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got 2 of the items, and they're both checked off on the little sticky notes. So he's halfway done with the area.
And the coffee's running out.
And the coffee's getting drank. That's the progression object, is that little coffee cup.
Yep.
There's some more.
We got another pig.
Yeah, more Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah, this is a lot of Kickstarter people.
Yeah,
right
they all show up in other places as well. I just thought it would be cool to throw a bunch of them right here.
Which really, it really adds a lot of life anyway. Like, if we didn't have Kickstarter backers, you probably would have you would have had to come up with stuff to put on here anyway. Yeah. So it kind of killed 2 birds with one stone, because then they get to have something in the game, and we need something there anyway. So
yeah,
would have been a bunch of butts.
Yeah, probably. Dude, it's just butts and phlegm.
And phlegm.
So I would say that this is probably the most kind of twitchy puzzle thing we have in the game, probably.
Yeah, we did tend to avoid timed stuff. Besides like pistons going in and out, which is relatively slow. All of our stuff isn't really time-based. It's pretty chill, casual.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I don't know if we even talked about this, but because we've played so many puzzle games in the past, we know that you should not have time stuff when it comes to puzzle games. You want to avoid frustration as much as possible. Well, timing in video games should just be banned, because it's never good unless it's a racing game or something like that.
I would say we want the challenge of this game to be the constraint of this game should be your mind, not your hands. Like, you should never feel like your hands are the bottleneck for you completing the game. You know,
Right.
It should be your mind and your ability to figure out the puzzle, with your mind instead of your hands.
Exactly.
Meow.
There's butts.
Yeah. There's some.
Made from
Butts.
something. I
How
can't
do we?
remember what it
Okay,
said.
let me go back.
Real coffee.
Made from 30%.
30% real coffee.
Real coffee.
Kind of makes you wonder what's that
70%.
70%.
Don't know. Oh, so the music changed. So
when you go through the window.
our sound designer, Logan, he really wanted to do this, and it turned out great. Where it turns, what is it called?
From diegetic to non-diegetic. I can't remember
I think
which
so.
one's
It
which.
might be.
Yeah.
But he makes it sound like it's like surround sound music out on the street, but when you come into the coffee shop, it turns into music coming from overhead speakers in the coffee shop.
Yeah, it's like out there the music was more of like a narration, and then in here the music is like it's from a person, like a physical person within the space.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sure. Yeah, they do that a lot in movies. Like when people like are in a car and it's playing like cool music or whatever, and then all of a sudden that music is coming from the car and they turn the car off and the music stops.
This puzzle too. This is one of our really old ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember this puzzle was one that we played.
Oh, when we went to PAX back in 2016.
Well, even before that, this puzzle we had at our very, very first convention, and I remember Joel was living down at a different place at that point because he was in college and everything. I remember we had a friend of his play this game in their apartment.
Oh yeah,
and that
your
was
college buddy.
I think that was in 2015, so that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So this one's been around a while.
I think this one came from our little, like, I don't know, we went to my parents' house and worked there. I don't think we slept there, but...
Yeah.
We lived off of Weight Watchers bars.
Yeah, so we went over there as, like, kind of just a change of scenery and hopefully a way to focus harder on different things. And this was one of the puzzles that came out of it from Daniel. Just like really grinding away at like trying to create. This one had 2 pillars, 2 signs, and then you connect it like a shoelace sort of thing. All those went together, and then you kind of just tracked your way through. But just figuring out how to do that without making it incredibly easy or, having some interest, really hard to come up with.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being broken up into a bunch of pieces.
Right. Yeah, like we've said many times, however hard it is to solve a puzzle, it's 100 times harder to make that puzzle because we have to find that balance. Like it's easy to make a hard puzzle.
Sure. Yeah.
But we have to find that balance of making the player feel smart and satisfied when they solve it.
Yeah.
Because if they're just like, well, heck, that was just hard, that's not fun. So we have to like make it hard and fun at the same time.
Yeah, which is tricky, yeah.
And also just making sure there's not any like skips to the end type of stuff, which is always kind of the best when you share a puzzle with somebody and then they're like, oh, this is nice and quick and easy, and it's like, well, that's not the way it's supposed to be solved.
Yeah.
Well, I would have told you, but we missed the hat.
No!
We missed the hat.
Oh!
Well, we could have gotten another hat down in the sewer.
Gosh, should we cheat it?
Okay.
Do it. We're gonna cheat it. Hey, we're back. We cheated it.
Oh, wait, we gotta get through the next door.
Hey!
Oh, shoot. Okay. Hey! Okay. So
So we would have used that key up there that Jed wasted to unlock this door, and we would have gotten that other key
bam.
to do this.
And so this is another one of that guy's books.
So now we have a choice between a cowboy hat or a ponytail.
I love the cowboy hat.
Yeah, I like it too.
Cowboy hat's amazing. Bam, look at me.
Cowboy hat.
Just need some boots now.
Yeah. That'll be $15.
Oof.
What the heck? That's steep.
Well, not for Fortnite skins.
Well, okay.
Just saying.
Oh, look, the coffee's basically empty. That's
Yeah,
cool.
somebody's been sipping that away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is a really wacky puzzle that...
Yeah, we took the idea of, like, in the past you had everything set up. Like, you set all the signs up how you wanted, you connected all the doors how you wanted, and then you just kind of ran through it. And then with this idea, you can sort of do things in stages where you have to go in and out of puzzle mode multiple times in order to, pass through those, like, depth doors. So we were like, oh, that's an interesting kind of idea that you have to do, so let's take it to the max and have you go in and out, like, 7 times in a puzzle.
Right.
And you're also kind of always constantly going down, but
wrapping around.
yeah, it's like you go down in play mode and up in puzzle mode by moving the signs up, sort of.
Yeah, but yeah, like you're saying, Joel, this is one of the first puzzles where we kind of introduce to the player, hey, it's not just a 2-step process, connect it and run through it.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot more to it than that, which really makes it more interesting in a fun way. So here's just a random gadget, and you figure out, you know, that it doesn't belong anywhere but in the Game Boy. So we try to come up with logical things that go in the Game Boy. That's a capacitor, right?
Huh? No, this is like that's like a toroid.
Well, Jed
I
knows,
don't know exactly.
Jed
what
knows
it
a little bit
does.
more about electronics than me, so I had him kind of give me a list of things to make.
I've
that
seen
would
it
make
before.
sense if somebody was like modding a Game Boy to do something
It
mysterious
does something
with
with
it.
electricity.
So it's like, okay, makes sense to have a battery on there, some kind of computer chip, all this stuff. So when it's all put together, it looks like some. Well, a lot of
Some
people.
madman's like gadget.
We saw theories that people thought there's somebody building this to like blow something up. But I don't think that's.
I don't want to hear it. Yeah, so this puzzle, like this area in general, I just really love it. Like if you look at the hub, we have these C clamps holding down the signs.
Which I don't think that's realistic.
No,
Who
it's
uses
totally-
C clamps to hold down?
It's totally realistic. Yeah, easy. Yeah, this is I
But it does add to the character of the
Yeah.
whole game, where it's just like all this like really out of the ordinary stuff. Oh yeah, like this over to the right. Like we really like putting in this random stuff that makes you question, like, who the heck put that there?
Yeah,
that's a
lawn
freaking
chair.
lawn chair, eating pizza, sitting and drinking, let's say root beer, right in front of this puzzle.
Yep.
So it makes you think like, oh, did somebody actually like sit here to look at the puzzle? Is it just set there for temporary purposes? And just all this random stuff. It kind of sets a cool vibe.
It's a very vibrant kind of area. A lot of character.
What am I doing?
Which makes it one of ours and I think a crowd favorite as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Bam. And then we circle back. So this is this the first time we do this? Yeah, I think this is the first time.
Yeah.
This kind of loop where this sign is the junction between you entering the area and exiting the area.
Yeah, which kind of confuses people sometimes because they come here and they're like, oh, how do I get up to the top left?
Yeah, because they
don't
played-
recognize it.
Yeah,
they
they've
don't-
like played between days or something.
Yeah.
Or even just,
Oh,
a lot of times they just come through and they don't recognize it, so they try to get up there thinking that that's a secret up there. But it's whatever,
not gonna think about it.
Gamers are dumb.
Gosh damn.
Which we did have to learn, You kind of have to baby them a little bit, but it's obviously a puzzle game, so we don't want to go too hard.
Dude.
But definitely in the start, we handheld quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the worst. Like, when I play games, it takes me forever to learn stuff. So, like, knowing that, this is people's first time playing the game and, they don't understand all this stuff, we do have to really take our time to make sure that they really fully understand everything.
It's really on us. It's our job because we're creating an experience. We want them to have a good time playing the game.
Yeah.
So if heck, we could make stuff really super hard or not explain things well, and that just means we made a bad game.
Right. Yeah, which there were many times where I would get frustrated at players because they're not doing what I want them to. But that just means I should be frustrated at myself because it wasn't made well enough for them to figure it out on their own.
Well,
there was a point where we're like, man, we can't have somebody play the game without us helping them. We have, like, it took years and years for us to finally get to a point where we could just step back and not be like, oh, here, let me help you with this. Because it was always something. But we finally got to the point where people were able to just get through it on their own. And that was very encouraging.
I will say, too, I think there definitely are people, too, that, like, this maybe just isn't their game. Like, maybe they're not, like, super into puzzle games, too. So it is a balancing act, which I think we talked about in the last episode, where someone raising an issue, like, they don't like this particular thing, you know? So that, it is very difficult, and that you kind of, at least for us, a lot of it was just watching so many people play it and getting a feel for, like, is their complaint does it actually have merit to it or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's like somebody who likes Dark Souls. Dark Souls is for people that like melee combat and stuff like that, and it's super hard, and, you know, if you don't like that kind of thing, it's not going to be fun at all.
Yeah.
So you just got to kind of accept that you're in a genre that maybe it's only for niche players.
Yep. So we built it for our audience and tried to make the difficulty curve as kind of slow in the beginning and then spiked up near the end, so that at least, you know, they could get their hands dirty and get some confidence under their belt before, like, smacking them in the face.
And not to mention, to go off kind of what you were saying, it's crazy when you look at the statistics of how many people actually finish games nowadays, especially. The majority of players don't even get past like 40% completion on most games. And we really did have that in mind when kind of building the progression and the series of events that would happen to kind of encourage the player to keep moving forward. It's like just this little carrot on the string, like, oh, there's something cool just over there, so I'm going to keep playing. Even though we knew that a large portion of people were only going to make it like halfway through and never open the game again. We definitely wanted to keep that sense of curiosity to motivate the player forward. I think that's it. So the next episode will be in the university.
Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or anything, we'll definitely be super happy to answer them.
Yep.
So leave any, like, whatever dev related questions or anything down below. And if you want to subscribe, you can. Maybe.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
See you in the next one.